Okay, for years, Indian gaming industry has been run by one and only one thing, which is real money. But post RMG ban, post the real money gaming ban that has happened and all that fiasco, everything has changed. Honestly, according to me, it's one of the best things that has happened for the industry. I am not really against any of the category or genres of the games, but there were a lot of repercussions that pure play gaming companies were facing. And for the entire game development ecosystem to move towards the pure play games, this is one of the best things that has happened. In this video, I'm going to talk about what has really happened post RMG ban. Where are the opportunities lying? Where is the money exactly going if there are no RMG or fantasy apps in India now? How are smaller, bigger studios, indies now adapting to this shift? And also why this shift could finally make India a true global gaming hub. Hey folks, my name is VAIBHAV and I run a company called Underdog Studio. We've been making games for the last 14 years. Right now we're making a PlayStation 5 and PC game called MUKTI, which is a first-person narrative adventure based on human trafficking. We are one of the companies selected by Sony PlayStation under India Hero Project. So if you haven't checked the game yet, just go and check out the game. The wishlist pages are in the description below. All right, before I get into the details, let me first put a context out. Let me first tell you about what really RMG era was. There were a lot of RMG, real money gaming and fantasy apps in India in the last few years. India made huge profits, huge revenues, majorly coming from these companies. Just to give an example, if I think 2024 kind of number was around $3 billion was kind of a revenue that was targeted. And then out of that, 80% of the 80 to 85% of the revenues were made by these companies. So if I look at the entire gaming industry ecosystem, the whole roadmap or whatever, the snapshot of it, pure play games, freemium games, narrative games, or even battle royals, which are made in India, they only had like 10 to 15 to 20, max 20% of the revenue shares in this. What really happened because of this was bigger companies with bigger financial backups, they started chasing immediate results. There were in fact, they were not big actually, there were huge valuations, fast user acquisitions. Obviously, because people needed numbers, there were retention numbers which are important, the ROAS, all of these things. People were chasing all of those numbers, and there was very little focus on creative innovation. We talk about games. In games, one of the best part of games is you can express through games, right? And we've seen lack of all of these things because majority of the talent went towards this. People, bigger companies or smaller companies, whoever was involved into RMG or fantasy games, they really focused on numbers. There was always chase for short-term benefits than a long-term ambition for original IPs, original ideas. Nobody was actually making those things. And that had created a big gap in the industry. Even if you talk about the talent, we know India has talent. There's right now also there's expertise which is missing, but all of this talent was also moving towards these companies because obviously there was a lot of money there. There was funding there, there was job security there, all of these things. And these people who were the talented folks out there, they got huge packages. They were driven by that, right? So that changed the entire ecosystem for us as an Indian game development ecosystem for last few years. So yes, that was kind of a snapshot of what RMG era was and how it literally dominated the Indian gaming ecosystem. Now let's talk about the ban and the aftermath. When the ban happened, and it was very sudden, again, there are a lot of things that I also personally felt were wrong, where things like, people didn't get enough chance to actually cope up with that. It happened really quick. They didn't get chance to actually pivot also. As a human, I have, I have sympathy around it. I have empathy, right? So that's that's one thing that was bad. But when it happened, there was a sudden rise of demand or shift from developers moving towards original IPs. All of a sudden, we saw a big rise in announcements about new game studios working on console games, established studios also moving towards game services, outsourcing for the international studios, because nobody had an opportunity now to work on RMG or fantasy apps. Even the bigger players in RMG started moving towards ideations around pure play or something else which is not even gaming. Now we also see that the overall number that we always talk about as a market, like it will have a very steep drop into that number. But I'm very confident that in the next 2-3 years we'll also see that gradually growing and eventually coming to a point where India could be one of those leaders making these global games. I don't want to get into what really happened in the ban, all of those clauses, all of those conditions and things, but you all know that the ban happened and all of these companies got shut. Moving on, what I feel has happened, what is the aftermath, what is the shift? I can actually segregate it into three big factors, and I'm going to talk about that now. The very first thing that happened is a shift from money games to meaningful games. Big shift among developers moving towards games built on creativity and great experiences rather than quick money making techniques, short span things, but focusing on bigger or long running original IPs. We all know India has massive potential. We have a library of stories around India, around our culture, around our ethos. And I'm not even getting into the mythological aspect of it, but there are stories that can be told from India that the world still doesn't know. Indies took a spotlight. We have seen at least 100 games last year in multiple conferences showcased from India. All of these games on PC and console. We never saw this 2 years back, but this shift has given birth to a whole wave of solo developers, smaller teams, smaller studios, and even the bigger, massive studios moving into massive console games as well. So that's a big shift from only making money games to meaningful games. And I think that's the right approach. But guys, this is just my opinion. I really want to know what you think about this, because this shift is something absolutely India needed for a long time. The next big shift is from local market to global ambition. Developers are now working towards original IPs which can attract global audience, international audience, who can resonate with the stories, not being too regional, but also having relatable content, but a complete different setup, which is India, which a lot of international gamers have not seen yet. There's one research that has been done, and it's come across me multiple times when I have spoken to a lot of bigger publishers, is that and even with Sony is the global gaming audience has come to a stagnancy point now. They've been playing games in American and European backdrops for last 40 years, and we're seeing a shift in that as well. They want new cultures, and that is why you also see Japanese and Chinese games doing absolutely well in the last 4 to 5 years. The next in line is India. We have solid stories that we can tell, and one of the living example is ourselves, who are making MUKTI right now, and we've got to experience that firsthand. When we put out the first trailer, we saw the love that the entire world poured on us, and it's not just India; it's from both the worlds, from the West as well. Because people love these stories and they want to experience these stories because they haven't seen these kind of setups or stories which are very, very regional, right? But again, just one tip for all of you, the developers, basically is if you are trying to make something which is regional, but it is for the global audience, try to make it, do not cross that regional versus relatable line. It's a very thin line. You need to keep it regional, but also make sure that it's relatable to the global audience. So keep this in mind. The third and the most important shift I feel is from short-term profits to long-term IP ownerships. Investors and founders are now realizing that the real value lies in IP creation, creating original IPs rather than just running gaming operations, just mechanisms to make money. In the last few years, you have definitely experienced bigger IPs like Last of Us, Uncharted, Fallout, Witcher, all of these IPs moving towards different mediums, different platforms. When I say mediums, it's basically transmedia, from games to series to movies to animes to merchandise to all sorts of things that can be done if you have a very strong IP. When you have a fascinating world, powerful characters, you can actually stretch your IP into multiple mediums, and that is what we see is happening, right? And investors and founders have now realized that, which is a great thing, and a lot of people are now moving towards that. So that shift was necessary and it has happened. So for the first time, we are not building games for India, but we are building games from India for the world. Now let's talk about the opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities that have opened up. I'll quickly sum up a few of them for everybody. So the developers, there is very high demand for creative people now, skillful people, people who can understand design, art, and storytelling, right? The demand has never been higher. Studios are now actively hiring people to create original IPs. So as a developer, you have great opportunities opening up to be a part of something which is historical, because this is a wave of developers coming together, building that first few games that will be breaking out soon from India in the global market. So there is a lot of opportunity there. If you are skilled enough, you have the opportunity. For investors, there is a huge vacuum. Smaller studios or bigger studios, they need funding, be it seed or series A or B or whatever that is. They need money to make these games. It's also very safer for investors to invest in IPs, because there are multiple ways that the IP can extract that revenue out from the ecosystem, from the market, than working with regulatory prone RMG or fantasy apps. It was always a risky business, and investors also knew that. But now, looking at pure play games, if you focus on that, if you're betting on developers or studios who are building that, it's a safer, very safer bet. For rest everybody, say creators or ecosystem builders, we have more conferences, podcasts, talks, sessions, panels, everything, more of everything around real games, games which are story driven, narrative, or just hardcore games which are not RMG games, be it PC, console, or mobile. There's everything which is just connected to these kind of games. And look at these conferences also. IGDC, we just finished IGDC, and again, a lot of talks around pure play games. We at IGPDA are organizing Gaming Con Bharat, which is happening on 29th and 30th November. So please be there, it's free, in Nesco, Mumbai. So don't miss out this opportunity. All right, in conclusion, what I see in the next 5 years, 5 important things. Number one is we'll see a rise of mid-core and narrative games coming out of India for the global market. Because as we speak, there are more than hundreds of games which are coming out from India on PC and console both. Number two is consolidation. Smaller studios might merge or get acquired by bigger studios, bigger companies, because if smaller studios, let's say, is focused on building PC or console smaller titles, bigger studios who are not doing that before, this could be one of their arm. So merging or acquisitions would happen at a big scale. Number three is the entry of international publishers scouting Indian IPs. They'll come to India. They've already started doing it, and we've seen that in IGTC this year. International publishers looking for Indian games, Indian IPs that can be taken to the world on PC and console. Number 4, we'll also see stronger educational systems or ecosystem being developed around design, creativity, more than just coding, programming, or just the typical domains. We'll also see storytelling, design, and a lot of other stuff, which will help the generation to focus on original IPs. Number 5, the last thing is government being very supportive in providing a lot of facilities, policies focusing on AVGC and skill development. A lot is yet to come, unannounced, and I'll obviously do that on my channel as well. But stay tuned, because there are things coming from the government. So hold on. All right, the RMG ban might have hit the industry real hard, but it's also cleaned the slate. What we build next will define India's gaming identity for the next few decades. So if you're a developer, founder, or an investor, this is the moment to shine. This is the moment to create something truly global. If you believe in this shift, please leave a like on this video. If you found this channel or me for the first time, please do subscribe to it. I'll bring more game development and gaming industry related videos on this channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's build India's gaming future together.